Hello! We're going to do the activity Choose Evidence to Support a Claim on IXL. This is one that a lot of people struggle with, so we'll take a little bit of time to do it together. Just to remind you, this is what the activity looks like. So it starts with a claim, and then it asks which is the strongest evidence to support the claim. So let's talk a second about what we mean when we say claim. A claim is basically just what a person believes. So when I make a claim, I'm saying what I believe. We make claims all the time. Sometimes we claim that the bus is too slow. I might claim that the succulent is the best type of plant to keep at home. We might make claims all the time. In this example on IXL, the claim is that public schools should provide music classes because they are important for children's development. Now, you may or may not agree with this claim. It's not actually important that you agree with it. All that you need to know is that a claim is when somebody is stating what they believe. And now, let's look at what evidence is. Evidence is why somebody supports a claim. So if the claim is what you believe, the evidence is why I believe it. And I put this arrow here to show that evidence, the why, leads to the what, the claim. So the evidence should lead you towards the claim. The why should lead you towards what you believe. And if it doesn't lead you towards what you believe, if the why would lead you somewhere else or does not directly lead to the what, then it's not a very good support. It's not really good evidence for the claim. So, for example, I might say that the succulent is the best type of plant to keep in your home. A good piece of evidence would be because you don't have to water it very much, so it's easy to take care of. That's something that is related. It might make you believe that it's a good type of plant to have because it's easy to take care of. I could also tell you that this succulent is in a blue pot. That's not really good evidence for why you should keep it in your home. So just because something is true doesn't mean that it's good evidence. The evidence needs to be related to the claim. The why needs to support the what. So let's take a look at the activity on IXL. It says, consider this claim, public schools should provide music classes because they are important for children's development. So which is the strongest evidence to support the claim? Which why basically supports the what of this claim? Remember, you don't even need to believe in this claim to be able to select the evidence, the why, that would most likely support it. So the first one says, research has shown that music training can help improve reading skills through the way it teaches students to distinguish between sounds and recognize language patterns. That's interesting. Anything that is talking about research, that's a pretty good indication that it's strong evidence, because research and studies are objective. They're not about opinions, they're about showing you facts. So that's a really good contender. Let's read the next one. In a recent survey, a majority of elementary school students reported that they enjoy their music classes as much or more than they enjoy their math or science classes. So it sounds like a lot of students enjoy their music classes, but does that directly support the idea that they should provide music classes because they're important for children's development? Maybe not so much. Just because students enjoy something doesn't mean that it's important for their development. That's kind of a big leap in logic. That's not the best evidence. This one says, at a recent conference for music educators, teachers noted a lack of funding for the arts was making their jobs more difficult. Well, a lack of funding for the arts making their jobs more difficult, that doesn't support the claim that music classes are important for children's development. That just lets us know that it's hard to give money for the arts. So really this first one most directly supports this claim, and we're just noticing that the research element is going to be a big hint in that direction. How about this one? Daylight saving time should be abolished. So that's a claim. So why should it be abolished? Let's read. Turning the clocks forward in the spring means an extra hour of daylight in the evenings, which might motivate people to do more active outdoor activities after work instead of sitting around inside. That's definitely an argument for why it should be abolished. But is it evidence to support the claim? I'm not sure. How about this one? A study from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that turning the clocks forward in the spring increased energy consumption, contradicting the popular belief that daylight saving time saves energy. So once again, we've got a study. That's a pretty good sign. And it's telling us that daylight saving time results in something negative, that it actually consumes a lot of energy. So that's a good indicator that it should be gotten rid of. Finally, an economics professor noted that his students often seem less alert in class during the week following daylight saving time because the time change throws off their sleep schedule. So we're going to call this anecdotal. And an anecdote is like a little story that's related. Anecdote, this is just a good word to know. An anecdote is a story that's related, but it's not necessarily the same as solid evidence. So an anecdote might be that, in the example of my plant, might be that my sister had a succulent plant and she accidentally killed it. That's an anecdote. It's related to the topic, but it's kind of a one-off story. It happened to one person. That's not evidence that it's definitely statistically going to happen in general. It's not real research. So, an anecdote is not going to be the best evidence. And this right here, the story of this economics professor, is way too specific. It's only about one person and it's about his experience. That's not necessarily the strongest evidence to support a claim as broad as daylight saving time should be abolished. So I'm going to go with the one that says a study. All right, one more. Cheerleading, which requires great physical skill, is a legitimate sport. So what's the strongest evidence that cheerleading is a legitimate sport? This one says, the American Medical Association, the nation's largest physicians group, officially recognizes cheerleading as a sport. So we've got a very official organization recognizing cheerleading as a sport. That's pretty strong evidence. A high school senior told the school newspaper, so right there, it's just like the economics professor or about my sister killing a plant. It's about one specific individual. That's a red flag. But they told the school newspaper, my brother is a football player, and as a cheerleader, I train just as hard, take just as many risks, and compete just as seriously as he does. It's a nice story. It definitely would support the claim, but it's not the strongest evidence because it's anecdotal. And finally, researchers have concluded that cheerleading is now the leading cause of catastrophic injuries for all high school and college females. So that definitely would be really good support that cheerleading is dangerous, but it's not necessarily good support that it's a legitimate sport, which is what this claim is claiming. So I'm going to choose the first one. All right. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you to do your best at choosing evidence to support a claim.